And we are starting now to brainstorm who can we engage? Okay, how can we, because now as we see, the situation is deteriorating, the placement is in great risk of falling apart. Okay, when a foster placement falls apart, it's a very bad situation. Okay, many foster placements fall apart, and we are in such a situation. Also, the child is clearly at risk now. So, okay, who's going to help me with this? Who's going to pass this around, please? I need the care. Thank you, Christian, both of them. Okay, so.
I'm from Austria. I have good experience with inviting the grandparents in this case, and maybe the mother, for the main feasts in the year, for Easter and for 24th of December, and to build a symbolic group that they are not the opposite group who is to fight against, but who is invited into the foster family with the special occasions. And this gives the biological parents the possibility to learn how to make a feast, because most of them don't know how to do this, because they did not experience this themselves in their life circle. So, and if you do this, you create a symbolic space that invites them wider more than if you talk your enemy or so. I have very good experience with inviting.
Can you explain it to me, Nahi? I understand partially.
Sorry.
No, you don't have to do it. I'll just leave it on you. I see. An occasion like an Easter celebration or the 25th of December, okay, a special celebration to bring them in. But it's quite clear already. Okay, if we look at this first suggestion, it's quite clear that we have to find a way to diminish the distance, the abyss, okay, the opposition between foster parents and grandparents and mother on the other side. Okay, now foster parents are very much threatened, okay, by what they see as the attempts of the instigation. They talk about instigation. And the grandparents feel that the terrible injustice was committed against them, okay, because they could be in charge of this child. Okay, the social services decided otherwise. So that's our first obvious goal. If we don't succeed to do this, reducing the distance is not creating fantastic collaboration. Okay, so that's why such an idea like a celebration reduces the distance. Okay, there is a humanization of the other side. Okay, but it's a goal that it's absolutely necessary to be achieved, to reduce the chasm, the abyss between foster parents and grandparents, mother. Okay? Well, I would like to think about it a little more. Okay? One possibility is utilizing a feast, okay, as a peacemaking encounter. Maybe we can have another suggestion. Where is my mic? Somebody take care. Okay, from yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm Vered from Israel. And
if you can hold it close to your mouth,
yes, I know.
yeah.
Like this, yes?
Yeah,
Here.
yeah.
So I think because it's written here that he has a better relationship with his male teacher in school, so it is a very good opportunity to talk with him. And the other people, and the other man is an uncle that is written here, that is doing a good... So we need to talk with them. Once with the school, but with the teacher, that he have a good relationship.
We have here somebody, Vered is a teacher herself. Okay, she is participating actively on my new book for teachers. Okay, so there's somebody else there, but I'll go over the suggestion. Okay, the uncle is in a very special position. Why is the uncle in a special position? Because he is the one that is accepted by the foster parents. Okay, he is so potentially he could serve as a very valuable bridge, because the foster parents say he's okay. Okay, and evidently he cares for David because he's coming to visit him. And actually, he's the first one to break the taboo. There is a taboo. The taboo is legitimizing the foster parents. So the uncle is breaking this taboo. It's a very special situation, someone who dared to do that. So we could have here, potentially, we'll afterward think how we could do this. We could have here a potential acceptable mediator. The teacher in the school, we know that his male teacher has an approach to David. He can work with him mostly on an individual basis, okay? But David is in a much better relationship to him than to his female teacher. Okay, there's something now, we are all psychologists, okay? He's in a better relationship to him than to his female teacher. Is there another echo of this going around? Okay? We'll go back to this theme. He's in a much better relationship to him than to his female teacher. We keep this in mind. Okay, please.
My name is Christoph. I'm from Germany, and I work. My experience, especially, are working together with the youth, helping services. So I'm used to work with them as a public authority in a way, and I'm not sure whether in this case these persons from the social services are very present to look for solutions. If it would be like this, I think it would be necessary to have them together in a team, in a supporter team. In Germany, there are those who pay for the helping system network, so anyway, would be necessary. And there is the father of the foster family, I have understood, which has a link to David playing football and watching football with him. So answering the question, what kind of team would be necessary or helpful maybe together? I see also the uncle, the male teacher, the father, also the mother, because they are together, should be part of the as parents, as foster parents, and the uncle, and maybe also the grandmother, because she has a kind of ambivalent role, maybe, because she how do I say that, she announced this situation when because about the new relationship from the mother, and that the mother might be hidden again. And the main question, that's what I wanted to say especially, is I guess where David should be, because I see David in a kind of a triangulation, having this loyalty conflict between his mother, biological mother on the one side, and on the other side, the biological mother is not supporting the idea that still not supporting the idea since 2 years, I guess, or 3 years, I'm not sure, that he lives with the foster family. And I think this could be one of the main subjects to gather all those people together to have a very clear attitude and to resolve maybe this loyalty conflict by David, that the supporting team clears, okay, we want you to stay with the foster family or whatever. That's what I wanted to say.
Can you give me a small resume of the position? You see, okay, my hearing disability is in such situation, it's pretty difficult for me to find. I got some of the about the possibility of involving the social services, and the question that was raised was how to address this possible, probable, a loyalty conflict that David is experiencing, not only between the mother and the foster parents, also, he feels what he says, that the foster mother is guilty because he has not stayed at home with the foster parents, He's home, he was living with the foster parents, and he says, he was living with his grandparents. So he says, I shouldn't be here at all. I should be there with my grandparents. And you are to blame, the mother, the foster mother. So it is not only conflict between, loyalty conflict, mother, foster parents, but also simply, I want to live with my grandparents where I was living. There was no reason to take me out from there. It's a voice that we have to listen to. I want to live with my grandparents. There was no reason to take me out of that. And the foster placement may fall apart, is in high risk of falling apart. So maybe we have to listen to that voice, we have to listen to the grandparents, but how do we get this to work better? There is an interim process. The decision has not fallen that you'll be taken out of the foster family. So we have to create something that might lead either to a continuation of the foster placement or possibly to a return to the grandparents, either this way or this way. Haim Nahi wrote an article many years ago called Principles of Strategic Therapy. We gave some, Principles of Strategy or something like that, in psychotherapy. And one of the ideas was that when you have two possible goals and you don't know if you want to go in this way or in this way with the client, there's a dilemma, maybe I'll go this way, maybe I'll go this way. In this case, maybe the foster placement can be maintained in a better way. Maybe it will be necessary to stop the foster placement, and then we want to do it in a good way, not by a collapse, but to do it in a good way, a transfer. So, according to the strategic principle that we have announced, is when you have two possible goals, choose a course of action in which you can advance both at once. Later on, you make a decision for either this, or even for a third course. But at the moment, we could advance a course of action that might help maintain the foster placement or might help reverse the decision and bring him back to the grandparents. Now, there was this...
If I may, this principle was the one that infuriated psychoanalysts, because she said, do you look at the patients as military objects?
Okay, so our military object is to advance our front in such a way that either the foster placement will be secured, will become better, will function better, or a reversal will be achieved. Very important in this choice would to follow the idea that Christian or Christo, that Christian race, okay, if we bring now the social services into the picture, the social services now are in a special situation that might listen to this idea. Why? Because if we talk to them, okay, we are now the team that are planning the next intervention. And we talk to the social services who are responsible for the placement, for the foster placement. They have decided that the grandparents are a bad place for David. Okay? Now, if we talk to them again and we say, look, the foster placement is in danger. It's in danger of breaking up in bad conditions, okay, if there is a collapse. We know that the grandparents would very much like to have David back. But we also know that the foster parents, if they get help, if they get support, would like to continue with the foster placement. Then we said we would like to do some things that would either make this possible or this possible. Now our question to you, to the services, is would you be willing to consider a positive return of David to his grandparents if we succeed in making this in a good way? Because simply breaking up is the worst possible situation. I think they would be amenable to this idea. We wouldn't say that's the best. We say we have to consider this as a situation. Where is my, okay, I have a problem. Where is my mic? Who's holding it? Yeah, there is an interference there. Okay. Yeah. Try not to move it in any wise, because then we get, I don't know why I was getting a lot of noise in my ear. Okay, it's better now. Okay, so those are the... Now, we already know of some people that we like to get involved. And we already have an idea how we'd like to advance the situation. Strengthening the foster parents and strengthening the position of the grandparents with the mother. I see the mother, maybe I'm mistaken, but I see the mother as a minor part of the grandparent system. Okay? Because the grandparents are the ones that had the custody, not the mother. Okay? The child was living with the grandparents. The grandparents wanted custody, okay, very much. And the mother is now living with a man, and she's not an option to have David sent back to her, but I think she would view it with a very positive eye if the standing of the grandparents and her own standing were raised. Okay, if they had a stronger acceptance, role to play, ability to influence things, okay, it's time to stay with David. So I would think about the biological side. I would think that the more important people are the grandparents and the mother as a part of the biological family, because custody, in case of a collapse of the placement, might go over to the grandparents, or, in my opinion, this would be a very bad option that he would be sent to another foster family, okay, without considering this. Because, you know, one of the problems with those kids is creating some continuity. And a new placement is a terrible breach of continuity. Okay? So now we know what are going to be the chief dramatis persona. Social services will decide on the placement. Okay, the uncle, who can be a bridging factor, and he has already a way to reaching David himself, possibly the teacher, the male teacher in the school, grandparents, foster parents. Now, the next thing that I'd like to consider is the message. What message could we give? Let us start with the foster parents. Okay, what message could we give to the foster parents that will let them go one step in the direction of better relationship with the grandparents and even with the mother, but mainly with how could we talk to the grandparents? Now, the message. Okay, we want to begin to win them over to a more cooperative relationship. What would we say to them? Yeah.
So we must first acknowledge their giving and their caring for David.
Yeah.
First, before anything. And then, find out what's going on with their thinking of the grandparents is against them and try to work that out. But acknowledgement is first, to give them credit for what they've done, because right now, David put out all his anger, all his frustration, of course, out from his mother on his foster mother, of course.
Can you suggest how you would acknowledge this?
I would tell them, I would appreciate, I, as a therapist, would do it myself, but also I would encourage David to do so.
To encourage David?
Yes. To seek, and find some credits to his foster parents.
I see. Okay, so you might perhaps try to get David's cooperation to acknowledge the foster parents. Okay, the problem is that you come as a professional to David. And if you come as a professional, you are a representative of the authorities. And if you ask him to say good things about his foster parents, he'll see this as propaganda. Okay, propaganda, okay, and he says, I'm not going to, okay. Now you said acknowledging the contributions and the efforts of the foster parents.
Yes.
What would you tell this foster mother, foster father? Okay, you go and you meet with them. They want to hear what you have to say. David, they want to hear what you have to say. What would you say to them? Give simple words.
I would create this meeting that you worked so hard to create. I would use it. The male teacher and the foster parents and David all together, and just try and find out, points of credit. Like, basic things, like does he have food on the table when he comes back?
Yeah.
If anybody is there when he comes back from school, if anybody look for him when he's not around. Very basic things.
Yeah. What else? What else can we acknowledge? We want to acknowledge, to show them that we respect them for what they have been doing, for the things that they have been trying to do. What else can we talk to them? How can we show them acknowledgement and respect? Let's see, the message has to show acknowledgement and respect. So here we have some very practical things. Okay, you have given David a place. Okay, an organized place, food on the table, a regular routine, a house. Okay, this is okay. He's acknowledging their role as providing for his living conditions. What else can we do to acknowledge their efforts? And you see that this will bring us a little. So that idea of the acknowledgement, what else? How can we acknowledge? How can we, okay, here we have Christian.
Hello, I'm Chris from Germany. 30 years ago I started with working with young offenders. I'm not a psychologist, I'm a social pedagogue, either working than thinking. So I found out that a lot of youngsters, just male youngsters, and this is also what I see here in this case, they have a problem with identity. This guy has no identity, a positive identity as a man. He never experienced a father who was standing behind him. Like you told, being in the Grand Canyon, having Nahi behind you. So this person behind David never existed. And this we have to understand. And so this is one thing that I would say to this guy, to the Forster family, for the father, I would say, thank you that you play football with him. Thank you that you share time. Even maybe you don't see the results. That very often we work like mad. We even play something like additional father. We don't see any success. But this is not his fault, and we also have to go to the mom, to hug her and say, even you are the bad woman in this game, because David, what did he have? He had a mother who never cared about him, a mother who ran away from him, and a mother who was beating him. So we have to show this foster families that they are not guilty for the things that happen, and we have to encourage them to carry on, even they don't see anything.
We have to, okay, so what is being acknowledged here? Okay, what do we acknowledge? Okay, we have had the idea to acknowledge the very simple physical structure of care, but here we are acknowledging their attempts, their efforts. Okay, you see father, okay, to the foster father. This boy has hardly had an experience of a father. Okay, his father, his own father, disconnected himself and disappeared and vanished. And you know, he's having such difficulties in staying at your house. And yet, he sits with you and watches football. And he also plays football with you now and again. You are doing something for him, you're giving something for him, of which he has only a very, very vague experience. Maybe you don't feel you're having much success in the overall task of serving him as a foster father. Okay, we are all having a difficult time with David, all of us. Okay? But here you're giving him a corner of father experience. Okay, we're acknowledging the attempt, the value of the attempt. What else can we acknowledge? Because this will take us. Okay, is that, you want to say something? No, yeah, please, okay, yeah.
This way, okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Ivan. I would ask a question. I would ask them a question.
Yeah.
And the question would be about what would be their best hopes for themselves as foster parents and the best hopes for David.
Yeah.
Starting with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's of course we don't come with a message. Okay, we start talking to them and then asking about the difficulties that they are having, the hopes that they are having, because the hopes that they have is something that can be acknowledged. Okay, when we talk to parents, we talk to not only foster parents, talk to parents. And you know that in our profession, we don't learn very well to talk to parents. Okay? It's very difficult for therapists to talk to parents for many reasons. One of the reasons is that all our theories blame the parents. Okay? We have lots of expressions for explaining why these parents did something very bad, fucked the child up, and so forth. We have very few ways of expressing respect for difficult parents, parents who are in a difficult situation. I don't know if you know Stefano Cirillo from Milan. Stefano Cirillo wrote a book which is called Bad Parents, Genitori Cattivi. Okay? It's parents, okay, who he gets referrals from the justice, from the judiciary system, because they beat up the child, neglected the child. Bad parents, okay? Even in the fairy tales, they would be called bad parents, okay? So he's a genitore cattivi, okay? It's a cattivo in Italian, okay? Il buono, il brutto, il cattivo. It's a very famous Western, okay? Cattivo is the bad guy, okay? Genitore cattivi. And in that book, Genitore Cattivi, he talks about how, when he gets such a referral from the justice system, he can assess the parents' recuperability, if they can recover. Okay? And sometimes it's part of the assessment is a treatment assessment, and he gets many of these genitori cattivi, and he finds that they can be recovered. Others not. Okay? Some of them, okay, he says, okay, I cannot recover those parents, but many can. And the first thing when you're talking to somebody who failed, those parents failed, is to acknowledge what? Their hopes, their dreams, sometimes their feelings, their suffering, their frustration, their attempts. Okay, this is very important. Now we are talking about both the foster parents feel they have failed, they are failing. They're not only failing, they're very frustrated. How can we talk to this foster mother who's feeling very frustrated and acknowledge, give her some acknowledgement that will bring us a little further on the way to getting her support? Okay, let's see here. Just where is the mic? Yeah. Yeah. Slowly.
We were thinking here together.
Yeah.
And the message would be to the foster mother, foster parents, you are giving him a safe haven.
Yeah.
And that is never going to disappear, even when he is with his mother or
yeah.
he learns to get his mother better.
Yeah.
The fact that you are giving him a safe haven
yeah.
will be always there.
Okay. So, the fact that he has had stability, because this child, okay, that's an achievement, okay? A safe haven is our professional way of expressing secure attachment, okay? It's one of the fundamental conditions of secure attachment. You've given him a safe, but okay, if you want to say it simply, okay, I would say the same thing, maybe you don't know, but the fact that you have given him stability for 2 years when his life has been so shaky is something. Is something. Any element of stability creates a stable thing in his mind. He'll be able to remember, I was there for 2 years or 3 years, I don't know if it goes on. Okay, so we are then acknowledging achievement. There's another thing that we can acknowledge. Think about the foster mother. He's one of the most frustrated people in this whole system. What can we acknowledge, please? Here. Sorry that I see the people here more, so that I'll try to balance that. Yeah.
Hello, I am Sabine. I would say to the foster mother that she had a tough time with him, and she doesn't deserve this really. We can think about how helping David, but on the other hand, it's important to stop the violence into the family also.
The what then?
The violence.
The violence.
The violence of David in the family
Yeah.
has to stop also.
Oh, okay.
So I should say that.
See, you have to acknowledge their suffering, their frustration. Okay? Look, you are having a tough time. I would use exactly, you are having a tough time with David. You are the one that are working the hardest and getting the least recognition. You are the one who's trying the most and getting most of the rejection. And you are being blamed for the fact that he's with you. Okay? This is very difficult. And then you are eating a lot of shit from David. It's a difficult boy. He's stealing from you. He's attacked you physically. You deserve support. You deserve help. We are here because you have to be helped. She listens to that. She will be very interesting to listen to whatever else we have to say. Acknowledgement. Okay, we started with an idea, that Ofra raised. First of all, they need some acknowledgement. What we did up to now was trying to translate this idea of the acknowledgement into very simple things. And actually, what do we acknowledge? We acknowledge achievements. We acknowledge hopes. We acknowledge positive feelings. We acknowledge suffering. We acknowledge injustice that the person has suffered. And when we say so in very simple, it's very important to say it very simple. We acknowledge the fact, you don't know, but the fact that you've been watching football with David and he's willing to stay with you. He doesn't know what a father looks like. And now he has one small slide of what a father looks like. It may seem little for you. It is not. You acknowledge services. Okay, maybe it seems for many people self-evident that he has food on the table, that he has an orderly house. He has had a very chaotic life. Very chaotic life. And here, for those 2 years, there is food on the table, there is a routine, there is some place to come back to. There will be an idea of order in his mind. You've given this to him, achievement. You acknowledge suffering and frustration. To the foster mother, mother, you are the most unjustest person in this whole thing. Why? Because you do most of the effort and you get most of the blame and the rejection. Okay? Money has been stolen from you, you've been pushed around, you have been blamed, and you are investing, she's definitely investing. You must be helped. You must also be helped to protect yourself. It's very interesting. Whenever you say to parents, always, 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 you must get help to protect yourselves, you improve the relationship with the parents. Always. Because that's not what we psychologists say to parents. You must be helped to protect yourselves. Very little. We do that in NVR, always. We go and we say more. Actually, if you learn to protect yourself against violence, against robberies, against abuse, you're learning to protect yourselves against those things in a positive way, is that child's greatest hope. If we say this, you're learning to protect yourselves is your son's greatest hope. It's very important. But then we have to acknowledge the injustice, the abuse, the ingratitude. It's a very interesting, ingratitude. Ingratitude is an eternal cultural theme. King Lear, one of the most moving plays in the history of drama. It's all about filial ingratitude. Do we tell parents you suffered a lot of ingratitude? Using the simple word, you've suffered a hell of a lot of ingratitude. We want to help you to protect yourselves against abuse and ingratitude. And then they're willing to listen to us. They stay with us. This foster mother has to hear that from us. If she hears that from us, she may be willing to hear the next thing we're going to say. So we have talked what is acknowledged. We use that word very much, and now we have tried to really translate this into actual concrete messages. Always keep in your mind this. We have to acknowledge real things, real feelings. We can talk to one of those genitori cattivi, one of those bad parents. You can say, look, your life is now a mess. The child's life is a mess. We begin by acknowledging the mess. We don't begin with the good things. It's a mess. But I'm sure that deep inside you, you wanted the best things for your child. That deep inside you, you wanted to be the best parents. But life is complicated. Things got out of hand. One bad thing followed another. But I believe the good feelings are still there. We are acknowledging the good feelings that are there, and they say that's true. The fact that there is this mess does not invalidate the good feelings. And these people say that's true. You see, acknowledging in the end is saying very concrete, simple, and believable things. And acknowledgement is messages. Those are active messages. Okay, now we've already created some kind of positive bonding with the foster parents. They are willing to listen to what is coming next. We have talked to the social services, and they are possibly willing to consider the fact that we have to strengthen the foster parents, but also consider the possibility of involving more the grandparents, the biological parents. Now, next step. How do we present to the foster parents the idea of reducing the distance, of creating some positive contact with the grandparents and the mother? You see, one step at a time. Now, that's the next step. How do we do this? Yeah.
Thank you. I am Brigitte from Austria. My first step would be the question. It is two steps. One step on acknowledgement to the foster mother. I would ask her what would be helpful for you. For example, to send David or somebody else to the moon, like a fantasy. And maybe
It's the, let's say in solution-focused therapy, it would be the miracle.
yes.
Okay, he's in the moon. Okay.
But
She wants him there, but she wants him also out of there. Yeah.
maybe there could be some help from the grandparents to get rid of him for some time and go back when they recovered. You understand what I mean?
Get them as allies in bearing this difficult period, okay? That is a very good idea. The idea is, look, you are both frustrated, tired, and under threat. Okay, to the foster parents. Okay, he's doing things, he's threatening, making threatening gestures. Okay, very difficult situation. You need help, and you need rest. Okay, you need help, and you need rest. We want to think with you how you can get some help and some rest instead of undermining and opposition from the grandparents, because the grandparents are taking David for the weekends. How could we make this better? For you, for them, and for David, because you need this help. Okay? That's a way of how you need help and you need rest. Because no doubt, you're right, okay? There's a high probability that when David is with the grandparents, they rest. Okay? There's a high probability that they feel. Okay, afterwards, when he comes back, he's very tense, and it's quite probable that they're right. When he comes back, he's very angry, okay, at the being sent back. So we are talking now about the first proposal of cooperation. Okay, you need help and you need rest. When David is away for the weekend, there is some rest, but we want to have a better rest. We want to have a quiet weekend, and we want to have a quiet return. Okay, that's a nice goal. We want to have him return in a different frame of mind. For that, we need the grandparents. Okay? Okay, here we have someone. Thing.
If we can get both the foster parents and the grandparents see that they share the same hopes for David and the same common hopes for David, and also show them that from both sides they have the same feelings of helplessness. So that both sides they can see that they have common goals.
We should talk also about this common goals of improving the weekends and the return with the grandparents. And I think there is a common interest, a joint interest, because we can speak there. I think there are good ways we can now engage the grandparents in this idea. Some idea for a good message for the grandparents now in this situation. What can we say to the grandparents, the biological grandparents? What can we say to them and to the mother? Okay, we think of them as a biological family system. What can we say to them? I think we should invite all the three, mother, grandparents. What can we say to them? How can we get their cooperation?
I think they all share the same hopes for David. They
Yeah.
want him to succeed in life and to be happy and be successful in his life.
Yeah.
So that's a common.
Definitely, definitely. But what do the grandparents want for themselves? What does the mother want for herself? that we may perhaps help them get at least part of it, okay, go. What do they want for themselves? We want to join with some very important, legitimate hopes. Okay, we are not the ones that we are going to say, well, we can reverse the placement now, okay? But there's something very important that we can do. Okay, somebody here? Okay, no, you can start and then we go.
Okay, so maybe to acknowledge their importance in David's life.
Sure, that's right. Okay, David is pissed off that he's not with them. They're very important for David. Okay, he feels that he belongs to them. We can say this very simply. You know, he is in foster placement because life got complicated. Things got out of hand. Okay, that's what happened. But he feels he belongs to you. Okay, this thing, he feels he belongs to you. He feels that you are his family. This is fantastic acknowledgement. Very simple, huh? He feels he belongs to you. He feels you are his family. It's quite, if you think about it, it's already 2 years that he's in foster placement. There were some good things that the foster parents did. Okay? And he still feels he belongs to you. He feels that you are his family. Fantastic, you know. It's like you have a wound in your soul that the child has been taken away from you, and then you get balsam. Okay, you get medication. He feels he belongs to you. He feels you're his family. That's very important. Okay, if you say that. This is the deepest, I think the deepest way of give them acknowledgement. Okay, real and empathic way of saying. And now we did that. How we get them to collaborate in making David's life and the transitions, foster house, foster home, okay, grandparents' home, smoother. How can we interest them? Okay, we want to win them over for this strategy. Okay, what can we tell them? How can we motivate? I mean, the Michaela, please.
Well, I think this is quite the moment when I say to them simply, you know, now we need you.
Turn this, the round thing to your mouth. Yeah.
This is the moment when I say to them, and now we need you.
Yeah.
That's it.
We
now
need
we
you.
Need you.
And why we need you now?
Because things went out of control.
That's it.
And
Okay, now we need you very much. And then they can say, well, but we are here all the time. Okay? Sorry. Yeah. Things have gotten out of hand for many reasons. But now we need you, and now we have an opportunity. You can not only help a lot in the present crisis, because he's really now in a bad situation. You can help a lot. He needs your help, and we need your help. This we need your help. That's what Michael, this is very, very good to say to them. We think there will be two very important benefits. We think David will be less at risk, more stabilized if we work together, and if we work together with the foster family. And there is another benefit. You will get closer. Your value will be recognized. We shall tell everything that happens here to the social services. Every positive side will be reported. Okay, your standing will get much better, okay? You feel that you were injusticed, you were. Now we have an opportunity to reverse it. Fantastic moment. We need them, and they can be rehabilitated, okay, in front of the social services. You see, we need you, and you have a chance. He needs you, and we all have a chance. And what would we propose then? I think we are now quite close to the actual proposal. We started with that, but we're going back at that again. And now next practical strategic step. Okay, here it is.
To organize a meeting?
Now we have everything. Isn't it fantastic when all the ingredients are there and we only have to put them in the oven? Okay? Think about how it would be if we had started with the meeting beforehand. Instead of that, we did that work with the foster parents, we did that work with the grandparents, and then we can say, look, we have to meet together, but look, the goal, we have to stick to this goal, and we'll give it to you in writing. We have to come with a way in which the transition, when he comes to your house and back, when he goes back to the foster parents, is good. How can we plan that? How can we make this for a good transition? Now, some ideas, okay, we are already at the meeting. Some ideas how to improve the transition. Some ideas, okay, now we are, okay, how do we improve the transition? Okay, the weekends. Look, this is so important because it is the greatest cut in David's life, the greatest discontinuity in David's life. It's there where every week his life breaks down. Okay, so if we succeed in bridging over, so now practical ideas, a plan to improve this transition.
Hi, Valerie Abe from the Netherlands. I would bring in the uncle at this point because he's a natural bridge between the two systems, and he can be a practical transition from the grandparents to the foster parents by bringing and taking and getting some feedback to both systems, because they both trust him.
Nahi, I didn't hear that. Can you explain that to me? No, okay, then please, can you tell it again? Okay.
The uncle...
You are fired, Trump would say. Okay. But I know Trump is not fired. Now you pay attention. Yeah.
The uncle of David is a natural bridge between the two systems, between the grandfathers and the foster parents.
Yeah.
So I would bring him in at this point to communicate between the both systems.
אתה הבנת עכשיו?
That's the best I can make of it.
כן. התפקיד של הדוד. Okay, the uncle. Okay, you see, we miss one word, the uncle, and we don't understand. Okay, it was the uncle. Okay, the uncle was missing from our heads. Okay, the uncle is very important. Okay, if we have this meeting, we bring the uncle into this meeting. And we tell the uncle, You are the Kissinger of this system, okay, the Henry Kissinger. Why? Because you have the ear of everybody. You have David's ear, you have the grandparents' ears, you have the foster parents' ears. Okay, you can help us tremendous. Now we want to make those transitions smoother because David needs it deeply. And the grandparents need it because the situation is out of hand, and this will help raise their standing with the social services and also help them get more influence, okay, in David's life, more presence in David's life. The foster parents need it because we want to make, okay, the foster placement more constructive, less destructive. Now at the moment it's very difficult, the situation. If it breaks down, everybody will suffer, David most of all. And you are recognized by everybody. Uncle, how can you help us with the transition? Okay, so we talk, he's there, the uncle, maybe he'll give some ideas. Maybe he'll simply come, I come on Friday, and I sit with him there at the foster parents, and I take him to the grandparents. Okay, this is fantastic, okay? He will be the link, okay, this is fantastic. Other possibilities of diminishing this, okay, this breach. Okay, so thank you. Okay, it took us a while. Only the little word uncle was missing. Okay, all the rest was very good. Yeah, here we have it. Yeah.
If I would be one of the grandparents, I would suggest I would cook supper for the foster family for Sunday evening for supper.
At what time?
Sorry?
You would suggest what?
Suggest if I were one of the grandparents.
Yeah.
I would make the suggestion that we would cook supper.
A supper.
To take to the foster family for a Sunday supper. Sunday meal.
You invite, okay, the child, David, is at the grandparents,
yes.
And we consider the possibility of the grandparents inviting the foster parents for supper.
No, not that way.
No.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that would also be a good idea.
Because on the Sunday morning, the foster parents, they are going to visit their own family, yeah? So they have time off, and they don't have much time to prepare supper for evening.
Yeah.
So one of the grandparents suggests we will cook you supper, and perhaps David's favorite supper, to take with David to the foster parents, and they all have supper cooked by the grandparents.
I see. Grandparents cook supper, and the supper is taken, okay, to the foster parents. Okay, they prepare. I like that very much. Okay, that's a very good idea. Okay, because food is a normal unifier between people. Eating together is a way, and preparing food is a fantastic way of support. You know, in the when you do Shiva is the morning ritual, the Jewish morning ritual. Okay, so people cook food to bring to the morning family, okay, and they help them. Bringing food is a fantastic way of expressing support at its most basic level. Okay, so that if the grandparents could be convinced to do that, it would be a fantastic thing. And we would tell them, look, we will be your advocates, not in the sense of reversing the placement decision. This is a bureaucratic process. But maybe it will get there, but we don't know. What we don't want, and nobody wants, is simply for David to collapse and the placement to collapse. That would be very negative. Okay? So we don't know, but we want you to get more weight in David's life. You deserve to get more weight, more influence, more importance, more respect. And there's been a lot of hostility between you and the foster parents because you feel injustice was done to you, and this foster placement is completely wrong. Okay, so there has been something that you feel has been a bad injustice. Okay, we cannot correct that. But we can increase your weight, we can increase your acceptability, we can increase your chance. In the future, you will play an even bigger role in David's life, but it has to start now. Now, foster parents, if they take the food, they will take the food because we'll help them. If you don't take the food, you are simply out of your minds. Okay, this is something. So if they take the food and if they thank the grandparents for the food that they've cooked for them, and David knows that they are all eating grandparents' food in the foster home, okay, we have a unifying process. We are creating emotional and physical continuity. It's emotional, but at a complete physical level. This is such a that's why I think this is a very good suggestion. So we have uncle as bridge, grandparent, food as a bridge. Some more ideas, simple things.
Yeah, hello. Maybe because the grandparents have more time than the foster parents, maybe to ask them, one of them or both of them, sometimes to take David from school to the foster house.
Okay. So see, having them help with, this is a fantastic thing. You remember, we have already a beginning of this process. David ran away from school and went to the grandparents. The grandparents reported that. First of all, this acknowledgement would do them good. You see, you did a fantastic job here in reporting. It increased your worth in our eyes. Everybody appreciated it. And we put it in our report to the social services. Okay, this is very important. We can add to that. What do you think about the possibility of twice a week, let's see when this is possible, of going to pick David up in the way to the grandparents. Okay, you call them, you say that you've picked David up, in the way to grandparents, okay, to the foster parents. You can get some ice cream or whatever thing he likes, okay, with sandwich, and then you take them there. Okay, this will increase your role, your presence in David's life, will create for continuity between the two situations. Life is becoming less chaotic, less disconnected. Grandparents are gaining in weight, and when I say grandparents, I would say maybe sometimes the mother will join in. Can we get the mother also? Because we tend to forget the mother in this case. I tend to forget the mother, so I guess we tend to forget the mother. Mother joins with this. So during the week, we are already strengthening the weekend situation by creating some continuity during the week. During the weekend, what else can we do? Somebody there radio.
My name is Miriam. I think...
Please, a little closer to your mouth, the other one.
Please.
That's it.
My name is Miriam. I see one very strong missing link here. It is, you have to strengthen David and his self-esteem. And I think they are very good solutions. He loves football. He plays with a foster father, and he has his uncle with him. He should be brought to a soccer club to learn football and play football and get self-esteem and be strong and have goals for his weekend. And I think this is a very important part in the whole story, and that he reacted so strong to the new partner of his mother. I understand him totally, and he's missing again a chance to have a hero, and instead he has another enemy like his father, the biological father who left him. And I think this has to be also spoken out with the mother and the partner of the mother and David and the grandparents to be clear.
You have to help me, Nachi. לאט לאט, טוב? לא הבנת. לא, אל תרים את זה, כן. A possibility of reinforcing that positive male side. Okay, remember, we have 3 male relationships that are more positive than the female relationships. Foster father, uncle, and male teacher. Okay, we can see that David is looking for fathers, okay, for things to do together with a male. He's revolting more against the women, okay, female teacher, foster mother, biological mother, presumably, and he is looking or establishing more positive relationships with the males. Okay, males, if you get together these males in their messages or in the things that they do with David, you create a positive party in his mind. We talk about, okay, the parliament of the mind. In the parliament of the mind of the child, there are many parties. One of the parties is this party of positive male figures, potentially positive male figures. Okay? Now, one of the simple ways of increasing the value of this subnetwork is by getting messages. I know that you did that. Okay? I heard that you looked at this match together with your foster father. How was it? Okay? Grandfather may ask him, or teacher may ask him. So I also looked at it on the TV. What did you think? Was it a penalty? Was it not a penalty? Okay, you know, men can talk about this question. Was it a penalty? Was it not a penalty? For hours. If you ask men to talk about the question, how did you feel about that? You get a response of 1 millisecond. If you ask the question, was it a penalty? Was it not a penalty? You get half an hour. Okay, so you have these men that they may, I know that you watched the game together with your grandfather. If the teacher tells him at school, fantastic thing. Uncle calls him, did you watch it together with your foster father? Fantastic. Maybe I come to see the revanche. We're now at the end of the Champions League. Okay, maybe I'll come on. What do you say? I'll come to your house and watch the final game, the final in Kiev. Okay, it's a fantastic thing. We are creating a male network. It's not only, we are playing on that tact, on that note, which already exists. When we talk on the same idea, reporting, reporting. Child was for the weekend with his grandparents. very important that when he gets home, foster father or foster mother may say, "We heard that after lunch you went there and there." Simple reporting. That means in our minds we were with you when you were with your grandparents. Simple reporting. School. Okay, teacher says to David, "I heard that this weekend your grandmother cooked a meal for your foster parents." What a fantastic thing. But
emergence of a satisfactory solution was not done by the therapist. It is far from being an authoritarian or all-know therapist. It is rather a common creation, and I believe that the fact that everybody, every participant is heard and every idea is weaved into the conversation makes it highly probable that a good part of it will be implemented. So the conversational approach, it is not a pre-told narrative like some therapists attempt to do, write down a narrative that they feed back to the... It is a conversational approach that weaves together when the therapist as leader has principles, but they are very flexible and easily accommodating every idea. This is one thing. And another point, what are the different roles the leader of the therapy or the work plays? First, a strategician, because the therapist has some principles in mind. He knows where he wishes to go. This we discussed in the first part. But he doesn't think of the ways or doesn't define it in advance the ways. The ways are evolving. But there must be a strategic understanding before, otherwise we would remain in a diffuse situation. So strategy making is one aspect of this work.
Here it would be, I think, the whole thing was the whole strategic idea is how to improve the chances that the foster placement will get a little better and that the position of the grandparents would get a little better, that we advance both of these lines at the same time. Okay, this was the whole strategic...
And one major aspect of strategy is therapeutic strategy is the ability of the therapist to translate the strategic ideas to different listeners. For example, the language that Haim spoke with the social worker is different than the language he spoke with the grandparents. With grandparents, he spoke in terms of feeling terms. With the social worker, he spoke with questions of chances of success and failure. Different languages for different workers. Then the therapist is mainly concerned about the positive. He doesn't deal much with the negative. And when he deals with the negative, he presents it not as a flaws of character, intentions, unconscious, but as shit happens. Very often, Haim spoke in terms of this is what happens. Things got out of hand. It's nobody's blame. The idea, we tend to blame. Our profession has a tendency to blame sometimes. And the idea that the positive things are to be cherished and the negatives are just tough luck is very important, especially when we work with parents who are very often blamed or blame themselves on difficulties. This is what has happened. It's nobody's fault. This language enables to open new possibilities and also new hopes. How can we make it that the passage between grandparents and foster parents will be less disruptive. When we look at things as got out of hand, we can open new possibilities. There is a very important job of mediation. The therapist has a major mediation role. For example, social worker, grandparents, foster parents. And mediation has always to deal with the positive and to deal with what people wish for the situation to be. So this mediation, and this also has to be done sometimes in different sessions. Not always we should put all together because we have to prepare. Mediation can allow, and this demands the therapist to undertake this role. Then the therapist is a team manager, therapist as a marketing person. Haim markets ideas and he tries to persuade participants so that they assume new roles. The marketing of the idea that we need a better flow between grandparents and parents is not at all self-evident because of the past memories. So there is an attempt to market the idea of better coordination between the two factions that for the benefit of both. This needs considerable marketing, and the most important part in marketing is to understand the client's needs and conceptions. So again, they need to have different languages. Therapist as marker, like when we mark important words in the book, when we mark the sentences that we look upon as important. Therapist very systematically marks what is positive and what options are there. And he ignores most other things. By marking, we take out of the soup of events those which may go better in the direction we need. So this marking, mainly on the positive, on the acknowledgement, and of creating new possibilities and marking of trifles. And this is the last role of a therapist, the alchemist that turns trifles into gold. Because whatever minor things, the meal, the football, the seemingly trifles are put up on a pedestal of major changes, major goodness, major compassion, and so forth. So, and the very practical approach and very practical means helps to turn these trifles into major things, and it is easier to create trifles and to enjoy trifles than to create big things. So I think those roles are complex and evolving, and they come and go, and the flexibility between them is great, but the outcome may be very positive to a situation that appears to be hopeless. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.